You might have realized that some people don't look their age. So environmental factors are known to change the speed in which we age, but our genes also play a really critical role in this. And this program is focusing exactly on this question. So what are my aging processes? How do genes work against me or are helping me to age slower? And what can I do to influence my aging process in a positive way? So aging is actually lots of different processes, not just one big issue. And we are looking at the following different processes where genes play a role. So one of them is collagen breakdown, then collagen production, UV rays, so sun exposure, hydration, oxidative stress, coenzyme Q10, selenium, inflammation, and biological age. So those are all aspects where we age in different ways, in different speeds, where genes are supposed to help keep us young, but where certain gene defects are working against us. And this is what we are supposed to tackle in this. And we're just going to look at a few examples and you will see how genes influence it. So collagen breakdown is a very good example, one of my favorite examples. And that is, we have a certain gene called MMP1. Now that has an important function. If you take the skin, we have collagen strands in the skin. So these brown lines represent collagen strands. So collagen are like cables within your skin and the cells hold on to it. And you need this for firmness of skin. And without collagen, the skin begins to sag. So we want collagen. And we want fresh collagen, not old collagen. And since the body continuously wants to produce new collagen to keep the skin fresh, we need to get rid of the old collagen. And that's exactly what this gene does, MMP1. So it produces a little enzyme, you can imagine like a little Pac-Man machine that comes in and degrades old collagen, makes space for new collagen. So we need this to keep the skin fresh. In some people, this gene has a gene defect. And what happens is this doesn't destroy the gene. This is a curious kind of gene defect because it supercharges it. So it does its job way too well. So what happens is you produce a huge amount of MMP1, much more than we would want. And they together break down collagen much faster than the body can replenish it. And so we see with people that have the gene defect, the collagen density goes down really quickly, while in people with good genes, it only degrades very slowly with age. So that already explains why some people age faster than others. They're unlucky to have this gene defect. So the DNA test will then tell us, oh, you're unlucky, this is your result. So what can we do in this case? And surprisingly much. So for one, you will have a scale bar and you will know, okay, your collagen breakdown is very much sped up, so that's the big issue that we need to tackle. So we see the gene defect produces too many of these enzymes, and we need to block that. And it turns out that there are certain vitamins and certain nutrients that can block the function of these overactive enzymes, namely alpha-lipoic acid, vitamin E, lutein, and vitamin C. Those nutrients can block these enzymes and then prevent the breakdown. So they prevent them from doing their work. So even though we produce too much due to a gene defect, we inhibited it with the right nutrients in the right dose. And you can apply it from the outside, that's why it says here, but you can also apply it from the inside. So if you were to swallow these nutrients, they are transported to the skin, and so you're fighting the issue also from the inside. So creams and supplements work in tandem to fight this issue. Now, what you might also see, phytosterols is also a substance that play a role here that work, but they're only from the inside, because if you apply phytosterols to the skin, they're not absorbed. It doesn't work at all. So it really matters where you put certain nutrients. They need to be able to penetrate the skin for it to make sense to add into skin creams. So gene defects produces too much. We increase the dose of these nutrients and we reduce the activity, and in the end we're back down to normal collagen maintenance. And so with the right nutrients we could compensate this inborn error that this person was born with. And then you can see which nutrients do we need to add from the inside, and you can see lots of green arrows means this is really important, so we need to add a huge dose of this, and then from the outside that's in form of skin cream. This shows you the science behind it. So for example, the MMP1 gene always comes with 2 copies, one from your father and one from your mother. And so it's possible that both work fine, and that's what it looks like. So both genes are functional. That's only 20% of the population, and they break down collagen slowly. That's how you are in the right speed, let's say, some right speed. So that's what you would want. 47% have one defective gene, one normal one. They break down collagen a little faster. and 33% break it down much too fast. And so in this case, this person would have this result. So this is something we really need to tackle. 20% have very slow collagen breakdown. Down here, you find the scientific publications that I've confirmed this. So every number is its own scientific publication, independently done by a scientist that confirmed that this gene defect breaks down collagen. And typically what we would do is we need at least 3 different scientific publications done by 3 different scientists in 3 different populations. And if they all show the same effect, that a gene defect influences collagen breakdown, then this is something we would think about adding. So 3 studies is always a minimum, but you can see there's more than 15 studies. So this has been studied quite well, and it's time that we use this information for our benefit. So that's collagen breakdown. That's one important aspect. And now we talk about UV rays, so the effect of the sun exposure to our skin. That's a very important aspect of our aging process. In my book, I show this image of a man, and this man is 66 years old. And he has been part of an interesting study that I want to show you. And there is another man, and this is this person. And typically when I'm on stage, I let people estimate how old they think this person would be, and roughly people would estimate around 80 years old. So we've got the 66 years old and 80-year-old man here. But what people don't realize is that these two are actually the same person. And that is because one side of this person's face has aged to visually around the age of 80, and the other side is 66. And this is a very interesting aspect because this man, and that was why he was part of the study, was a truck driver. And he drove with an open window for 15 years, and the sun aged one part of his face because that was exposed to the sun, and the other one not at all. So that shows sun exposure is bad. It ages us much faster. However, not every lorry driver has this issue. So sun exposure seems to affect some people more severely than others. And this is what we're looking at. So there's certain genes like MC1R. They produce kind of like an inborn sunscreen, you could say. So essentially the gene produces sunscreen, and that provides a barrier, and then UV rays try to come in and they bounce off and they're neutralized before they can do any damage. So this is our sunscreen gene, and if it works fine, all is good. You don't have very sensitive skin. Then some people have a gene defect in this gene, and so they're not producing this sunscreen. So they have very sensitive skin. They're born with very light sensitive skin. And what happens is the UV rays can come in and cause damage. So you're born with one or the other, and maybe you're lucky and you have the optimal genes. So UV rays are not such a big issue for you, and for others it might be a big problem. So what could you do? If you have strong sun protection, that's good. Sunscreen is still a good idea if you go out into direct sunlight. So sunscreen will create a barrier, but your genes will also create this barrier, and in total you will be protected quite well because you're lucky with your genes. But if you're over here, we're gonna need more sunscreen because your own genes are not fixing the problem. And there are certain nutrients like vitamin E and vitamin C that help each other, they recycle each other, and they help repair any kind of damage that UV rays that still get into the body. And so adding those will also help in the context of protecting from UV rays. So again, some people have protection, others need sunscreen to be protected. Of course, one thing, so you see sunscreen from the outside, of course it doesn't make sense to swallow sunscreen. So you can't apply that from the inside. You need to create a barrier to the outside, and that's just light reflecting or UV reflecting particles. And so certain things will only work from the outside and others work from the inside. And here you can see the gene again. So 2 functioning copies have strong UV protection, 1 defective, 1 functional is moderate, and 2 defective is weak UV protection. And you can see how common these are. This affects a lot of us. The next one is oxidative stress. So it's probably one of the most critical aspects of aging because around 5% of the oxygen that I inhale becomes toxic byproducts we call free radicals. So they're toxic substances, and you can imagine them kind of like a fire in a dry forest. So a free radical originates, it puts a fire, it creates a fire, and that damages the surrounding area. So this oxygen is toxic, and this is an inevitable byproduct of our metabolism. So by just being alive, but just using energy, this happens. This is a byproduct. And so because this is so dangerous or so harmful, we have certain genes, like the GST genes or the SOD2 genes, that have the function to recognize these free radicals and neutralize them before they can do any damage. So these are anti-aging genes that protect us from this aggressive oxygen. So that's great. Some people have broken versions of these genes. It's quite common. So in these people, the genetic fire brigade essentially doesn't exist, or it doesn't work. So free radicals stay, they damage the skin, and this happens over decades and decades, and the continuous damage just increases our speed of aging. And so that's a problem. So some people are well protected against it, and others have a weakness here. Thankfully, there are certain nutrients, and in this case, this person would be somewhere in between. There's not just broken or functioning genes, there are all the steps in between. And this person has moderate, but not perfect, but moderate protection against this. But thankfully, there are certain nutrients that can do the same thing as these genes, and these are called antioxidants. One of them is vitamin E, vitamin C, alpha-lipoic acid, and they can be applied from the skin. So as skin cream, they can penetrate the skin and reach the free radicals. And you can also apply it from the inside. And you see zinc and alpha-lipoic acid is also from the inside, because zinc itself is part of an antioxidant. However, it cannot penetrate through the skin. So there's no point in applying it to the outside. So it's always important to make sure that you can trigger or you can target the nutrient to where it's actually needed. So genes are inhibitors, or not working quite as well as they should. Free radicals come and we fight them with the antioxidants from both sides, and we protect it from the aging process. So the better your genes, the lower amounts of nutrients you need, and if your genes don't work well, we need to compensate. The next one, Coenzyme Q10. That's a great story. Q10 or Coenzyme Q10 is a very expensive but very powerful anti-aging molecule. And it's present in quite a lot of beauty products and certain beauty creams. And the reason why it's used is because we have a gene called NQ01 that has the function to take the substance coenzyme Q10 and then convert it into the active form, because Q10 has no function as an antioxidant. It converts it into the active form, ubiquinol, and that is able to also neutralize free radicals. It's the same toxic oxygen molecules that we had before. So Q10 is inactive, is converted through the gene to ubiquinol, which then neutralizes free radicals. So a nutrient we need to activate by a gene. In some people, this gene doesn't work. So this person takes coenzyme Q10 as a supplement or as a skin cream. Even worse, the body produces it itself because it's so important. But then we're missing the gene to activate it, and it's completely useless. If you did a blood test, it would say, we found a lot of Q10, all is good. But the reality is it remains inactive because the gene is not able to activate it. So it's a completely useless substance in some people, based on their genetics. So what can you do? If you're lucky, you have the good genes. So that means coenzyme Q10 is an effective substance. As I said, your body produces it itself, but production goes down with age. So we can boost it through supplements and creams and replenish your skin routine. And Q10 is actively from the inside and outside activated and neutralizes free radicals. And if it doesn't work, we can skip Q10 because we can't rescue its function yet and we can't repair the gene. But what we can do is we take other antioxidants with similar functions and just increase them. So more vitamin C, alpha-lipoic acid, and so on. So we use a different substance to reach the same goal based on your genetic issues. Good. So that's the principle. So I could talk hours about this. There are around 20 different genes that we look at. There are lots of stories like this to tell. But it also means that there are around 30 billion potential different outcomes, because everybody has strengths and weaknesses in each one of those areas. But it also means that everybody's unique. Your skin requirements are completely different than that of any other person. 30 billion potential mixes or genetic profiles. That's more than we have people. We have 9 billion people on Earth. So that means you're unique, and we need to consider you to be unique, and you need a unique solution for your specific strengths and weaknesses. So once we have that, the next aspect is the creams. So I've already told you, you need to have certain nutrients at certain doses packaged in the right way so that they can penetrate through the skin. And this is what we've developed with these creams. And we have a number of different creams. So one of them is a day serum that's supposed to be protective and genetically personalized based on your requirements for protection. And so you would, for example, you would say alpha-lipoic acid, hydrolyzed collagen with only a little bit, Q10, a high dose here, and vitamin E, high dose. So these are all sliders, and these arrows will be at different positions for different people. Now, there are some interesting ingredients that I want to tell you about. So one of those is argyroline. Argyroline itself is a very small molecule. It can penetrate into the skin, and when it does that, it attaches to the muscles and it paralyzes them for a few hours. It's kind of like Botox, the same concept. So your muscles are relaxing, they're not contracting anymore, and this reduces fine lines. This lasts 6 to 8 hours. So this is something you would want in your day cream because it makes you look younger for a while. So that's one thing. Another interesting one, hydrolyzed collagen. So this is also a peptide. So essentially what happens, collagen are long strands, as I said, where cells hold on to. Now, if collagen is broken down, lots of little collagen fragments float around. And the body has a way of detecting these fragments and saying, okay, well, we have lots of collagen fragments floating around. That must mean I must have broken down a lot of collagen, so it's time to ramp up production to replenish it. And so this targeting process begins to produce more because the fragments are detected. And we can actually use this system to trick the body. Because what we do is we take collagen fragments, but not from your skin, but from fish collagen. And these little fragments are then applied to the skin, and this then tricks your body into thinking it has broken down collagen, and then it boosts its own production. So it's a very, very ingenious way of how to trick your body into rejuvenating itself. Then we have the night serum. So those are regenerative nutrients. So again, alpha-lipoic acid, folic acid, hydrolyzed collagen, again, and so on. And so the amounts would also differ. So we have protective and regenerative for the face, and then we also have a body lotion and the supplements that I mentioned. So all of these different recipes are completely personalized to you, unique for you. It says your name. We go back here. We'll say your name made for Maria or whatever your name is. And so whatever's in there is specifically made just for you.